reminded me of a quote from Mark Twain, never let your school get in the way of your education, which is kind of funny at first. And when you look into it further, you realize your education has nothing to do with school. We're meant to constantly learn our entire lives. If anything, school gets in the way of that.
Yeah, most definitely. But they don't leave school. You know, a lot of people are so institutionalized that they leave school and they find a new headmaster. The new headmaster's in a business. They don't actually leave that safe bubble. And that's the thing, you know, when it comes to your survival instinct, we're trapped in that unless you're aware of it. And this awareness for me changed my life, because your mind wants to do what it did yesterday and the day before that and the day before that, because as far as your mind is concerned, it's kept you alive until today. It doesn't care if it's a good thing or a bad thing. It just knows that it's familiar, it's safe. So we're caught in this habit loop. And to break out of that, and I'll talk from my personal experience here, when I was drinking, and I was drinking heavily, I was caught in that. It was mayhem. It wasn't, I was in an ill state of mental health. I knew the right path moving forward. And I knew it was good for me. And I could say to myself, doing that would be great for me. It's going to be awesome, just do that. But just because it's simple doesn't mean it's easy. Because your brain just goes, please do yesterday. Please do yesterday. And that is really the concept of my business. You know, it's breakpoint, pushing into short-term discomfort for long-term gain. You have to go through the short term. Have you seen that quote about the bison?
No.
Oh, I love this quote. I actually put it in my presentations now. And it's got Anthony Hopkins, which is a great narrator and not a bad actor as well. And he talks about the bison being the only one of its species that turns into the storm when it's faced with it. It sees the storm, it turns into it, and it goes charging straight through. Because it knows on the other side, it's going to be short term, and it's going to be on the other side where it's calm.
As opposed to running forever as it chases them.
Exactly. Trying to escape the storm, which is the rest of the animals do, you never escape the storm. So you're forever in that constant pain. And when that relates to us as humans, when you procrastinate, when you go the path of least resistance, easy makes life hard. You know, and the bison just typifies that so well. And that really is the concept of breakpoint. It's stepping into short-term discomfort for long-term gain. Wow. And it's just being aware of this. Once you're aware of it, it's absolutely incredible. And it's also another amazing thing. I'm always, every day's a school day. I haven't got enough life left to think I know all the answers. And none of us should have. But it's interesting to know that your programming starts very early in life. You know, that 0 to 7, around about 0 to 7 is where all the coding's put in. And this is why the Jesuits have been telling their flock for 400 years, give me a boy until he is 7, I will show you the man. Because they know that all the stuff that they can program someone in those years creates the adult later on in life. Those programs are so hardwired that by the time you're about 32 or 30s in your early 30s, you're 95% program, 5% creative ability. And that creative ability, the 5%, is the one that wakes up on a Friday, right, Monday it all changes. I'm going to start looking after myself. I'm going to start investing in myself. I'm going to buy all the equipment this weekend, the new trainers, everything else. It always starts on a Monday, doesn't it? This is my last weekend, you know, of drinking and debauchery and everything else. Monday morning, they set their alarm for 45 minutes before. They're going to get up, do this workout. The alarm goes off Monday morning. What's the first thing we do? Snooze. Because what's happened there is the 95% tapped you on the shoulder and said, hey, I don't think you remember how we do things around here. And especially when you're stressed, this is how the system is designed, isn't it? It's designed so you don't have to think. You know, a lot of that programming is subconscious, exactly the same way that you used to drive, you know, you learned to drive a car. First day, absolute mayhem. I'm never going to be able to do this. Year later, you're driving down the road like some kind of, you know, Ayrton Senna, thinking you're a master. You don't even know how you've got to your destination. And that's basically because you've done something so much that your body's learned to do it better than your mind ever did. And really for me, I know this is like a lot of bits and bobs and information, but it's just awareness of this, awareness of the operating system. And once you're aware of that, you can work with your strengths as well as your weaknesses and stop faking perfection, which is the majority of people do on egogram. So.
And most people, unfortunately, are just living kind of a photocopy of the previous day. And that's based on the 95% of their programming, and they can never really get out of it. And they don't even know they're doing that. They think they have free will. They think they're making choices, but it's just that program on repeat.
Yeah, 100%. I also honestly believe, and I think this is why there's this. I've always been quite intrigued about the level of how we idolize celebrities.
Peter Thiel took $500,000 and turned it into $1 billion using the exact same techniques we're using inside the investment club. He met a CEO, his name was Zuckerberg. He pitched him the deal and he said, okay, I'll give you $500,000. Mark went public and sold the shares to people like you. Well, what happened to Peter? Well, he exited and got a 2,300x return. The wealthy invest in early stage companies, folks. The public markets are for suckers. It's a rigged game. By the way, this happens in crypto as well. It's called pre-sale tokens. This is Solana. Does anybody know this chain? They sold pre-sale tokens for 4 cents. And you can see the date on there, April 5th, 2018. Look at Solana today, folks. That thing's up over 1,000x. The media and Wall Street and all these hype people get you to buy the top. Meanwhile, they put their clients in at the bottom and they use you for liquidity to make their clients rich. You can play this same game. You just have to have the financial education and the deal flow. That's it.
And I truly believe that's because we've been programmed to believe we lack any kind of power, we lack any kind of self-worth. So we idolize something external of us. I think we've been programmed to believe everything, our power, everything is outside of us. I mean, look at the Bible, for God's sake. That's a typical example of that. But we don't believe, or we don't understand the power of who we are. And I don't fully understand it at all. But I do know that some of the information and things I'm learning now about the power of who we are, about energy and everything else, and frequency, vibration, all this, that, and the other, makes more sense to me than the narrative that we've been fed. To think that we're just lumps of meat and gravy, walking around, eat, sleep, work, repeat, that doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about this lately. And then the programming to 7, I think we both know Dr. Bruce Lipton. He was on my show many years ago. And I didn't expect it was going to be probably one of our most watched episodes ever. I just thought this guy was going to come in, maybe talk about epigenetics and genetics, and all of a sudden he was talking about a lot of things you're talking about, the programming and everything. And then you had children, and my boys are now 7 and 8, so it's quite relevant to me because right around the cutoff time. And then to watch them as kids, they just open up a hard drive when they're born and they're taking everything in. And you know, they're growing up in London and okay, the Queen's over there, she's more important than the rest of us. Okay, I go to school, I do this, Daddy does this does this, I'm this. And yeah, they're programmed to think that you're this person in the world. And then you go to school, and if you look at the Victorian system, I mean, it was basically like, we have this industrial revolution, we have all these workers, and we got these pesky little things running around. What are they? Oh, they're kids. Yeah. Let's put them in here and make more workers. And then thanks to the British Empire, we exported that to the world. And so most people are walking around these programmed beings. And then, as you said, with your survival instinct, people take advantage of that, from marketers to, to people like Fauci, to people like all these other people.
Governments.
Can basically, governments, corporations, they can pretty much make you do anything they want you to do by tapping into that, unless you're aware of it, right? And unless you can say, okay, my survival instinct's saying this, but I can bypass this if I want. And I think that's a lot about what you talk about.
Well, the first step is awareness, isn't it?
Yes.
Because if you're not aware of the program, then you are the program. And here's another thing for me as well, which is something else I've started stepping into. Again, I'm a jack of all trades, master of none when it comes to this stuff. But you know, when it comes to sound frequency, and it's really interesting. Again, I mean, there's one familiar trait every time with these certain organisation or person that changed all this some time ago. I think it was around the 1950s that we used to, I didn't even know there was a governing body for sound. You know, there's some kind of governing body for sound. And in the 50s, or should we go back to, first of all, the Schumann resonance of the Earth is 432. And that's the frequency that is harmonious to us as well. We're the same as Earth. And when we're in tune with that, it's quite harmonious to the body. Now, for whatever reason, in the 50s, they changed that to the 440 hertz, which is everything. You know, it's your phone, it's your wireless. Do they call it wireless anymore? That made me sound really old. But anyway, you know, all your instruments and everything is now 440 hertz, which is a very disruptive vibration and frequency to all your cells. So it's just interesting. And then I'll look at this, right? Our kids. You then stick a set of headphones on these kids with that frequency going straight into their head. And then they're listening to rap music, they're listening to this, kill this, all this aggression, violence and everything else. And then we wonder why there's a problem.
Right.
So I think, again, I'm no expert, but honestly, it's as clear as day to me what's going on.
I've heard this narrative recently that all of our pop music and music is just, the frequency itself is just jamming our heads and our souls on top of everything else that's trying to confuse us.
It's a toxic world, isn't it?
Hey, I know investing in crypto is scary. It takes a real leap of faith because there are so many scams, rug pulls, and bad actors out there. It's a dangerous business, which is why 95% of people lose all their money. Well, that's why I created the London Real Investment Club, so you can access the hottest deals on the planet and use the crypto bull market to create the generational wealth that you deserve. Join my team of over 100 people from around the world that are making millions of dollars behind the scenes investing in blockchain, AI, Web3 games, DeFi, Bitcoin, and more. Don't miss out. Click the link below to book a call with one of my team now. But hurry, this bull market will end soon.
I know investing in crypto can be scary. That's why you gotta join the investment club. Pull the trigger. Let's do this.